Alright guys, we are going to start our new chapter, chapter 2 on transformations. Within this chapter we're going to be learning about all different types of transformations, but our first one is going to be what is a translation. So when we turn and look at our first page lesson, alright here, so a transformation, so that is a general term that we use in geometry, is when you're changing a figure into another figure. So it's some sort of movement, some sort of resizing, reflecting, rotating, moving. Transformation means all of those things. So it's when we change a figure into another figure. The new figure is always called the image, and we're going to be using that term quite a bit today. So the transformation that we're going to be focusing on first is a translation. A translation is a transformation in which a figure slides but does not turn. Every point of the figure moves the same distance and in the same direction. So this first example, this is an example of a slide. We had the red shape and we just kind of moved it to the right, and now we have the blue one. That is a translation because there's no resizing, no turning, no flipping, no reflecting. It's just a move. So in this first example here, we have that same sort of translation. We have our red one. We can slide it down at a diagonal for this blue one. All those points moved the same distance. It is a translation. In B, however, we do not have a translation because in order to go from the red to the blue, we would have to take the red and rotate it, and that does not fit the definition of a translation. A translation is simply taking the shape and moving it in a direction. Okay? Now, the main part of this chapter is going to be focusing on how do we translate shapes in the coordinate plane. How can we have our original shape? How can we find where it would end up given certain requirements for that movement? And that's what we're going to work on with our notes today. So you should have a piece of paper that looks like this. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, so the original kind of looks like this. So what we're going to do to start is we're actually going to cut these dotted blue lines. It's kind of hard to see on my camera, I can tell, but this line and this line right here. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut right on that blue line, flip it around, cut on this side, just like that. And then the next step is to take each one of those and fold it into the middle, just like this. So you have essentially 4 little doorways into our notes that we will use. So go ahead and cut and fold yours. Alright, so I have my cut and folded foldable here. And we're going to start on the outside of our notes here, and then we will work to the inside. So the first thing about translating a shape in the coordinate plane is that you will always be given directions for how to translate. So for example here, this notation is just trying to tell us that the x is going to change by 2, the y is going to change by 3. Now both of these are actually positive, and normally we don't write the positive sign. I'm just going to put that in for a little visual here. The x is going to increase by 2, the y is going to increase by 3, compared to this one to the right where they're telling us that the x needs to decrease by 2 and the y needs to increase by 3. So you'll see that we have very similar translations, but they're kind of showing us examples with those different types of negatives or increases or decreases. So looking at this first point, so this is our original point, we call this our pre-image, it's where it has begun. If we want to increase that by 2 and then increase the y by 3, we're going to start at the original point, and then x is going to add 2, so I would go 2 to the right, because in x, positive is to the right, and then I'm going to increase my y by 3, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and that's where my new dot is going to go. Okay, that is our new point, and then let's talk about what is the new ordered pair for that point. So that dot is now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this new point is at 4, 4. Now, I'm going to point out something to you. So we found that by graphing it here, but we also could do our original 2 plus 2, that makes 4, and original 1 plus 3 also made 4. We're going to be examining two strategies where we can either graph first and then find our point, or you could even just use those rules and you use your original ordered pair. So sliding over to the next example, okay, going to the right. This example wants us to decrease our x by 2 and increase our y by 3. So if I start at this original point, now if I want to decrease my x, that means I need to go to the left 2. Okay, going down, so I'd go 1, 2 to the left, and then I'm still going up for my y since that's an increase of 3. So that'd be 1, 2, 3. So my new point is going to end up right here. Let's talk about what is the ordered pair for that one. Well, it's right on my y-axis, which means that my x is 0 because I don't have to move sideways. I'd start at that origin, and I'm just going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and again, if we compare our original to our new, 2 minus 2 is 0, and 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay, let's go ahead and look down at the bottom. I'd like you to go ahead and give this one a try, see if you can figure out where that new dot would be and what that new ordered pair would be. Alright, so my new point is right here, and I have that at 4, negative 2. I got that by going 2 to the right, and then down 3 this time, since our y is decreasing. We also can see this, that 2 plus 2 is 4, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Alright, last but not least, go ahead and try the fourth one there. Let's see where that point would be, and let's see what ordered pair. Alright, to get my new point, I started at my original. X is going down 2 and y is going down 3, so I'd go to the left 2 and down 3. That means my new point is at 0, negative 2. So for this next part, we're going to start going to the inside of our notes, and we're going to use these same rules from the outside on those inside. So for example, in this first section here, we're going to use this 2, 3 rule. So I actually like to rewrite this on the inside so I don't forget what the rule I'm working with is. So in here, I'm just going to write this as positive 2, positive 3. Those are my changes in x and my changes in y. So in this time, instead of just having one point, we now have an entire shape. We are going to translate the shape to 3. We are also going to make sure that all of our points increase and move the same distance. So if I'm starting with A, and I like to write my ordered pairs first, so I'm going to copy down A, B, C, and currently A is at negative 3, negative 1. B is currently at negative 3, negative 4. And C is currently at 0, negative 4. So those are just the original points. And then for this first one, I'm just going to use the strategy of moving on the graph, and then I will write down my image coordinates. So if I start with A, I know I'm going to increase my x by 2 and increase my y by 3. So I'm going to start at A, and I'm going to go 2 to the right, since that's my x increasing by 2. And then I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, to show my y increasing by 3. We are going to notate this with an A, and then I'm going to put a little dash next to it, kind of like the symbol for foot, but we actually say this as A prime. So we always put the little prime symbol there just so that we know what was our original drawing and what is our image drawing. I'm going to do the same thing with B now. So I'm going to start at B. I'm going to increase B by 2 in the x, so 2 horizontally, and then 1, 2, 3 vertically for my y. I'm going to mark this one as B prime, and I can connect those. And then last but not least, I'm going to start at C, increase x by 2, increase y by 3. That means my C prime would be here, and I can go ahead and connect those. And then let's write down those ordered pairs. So we'd have A prime is at -1, 2. B prime is at -1, -1. And C prime is at 2, -1. So that is our first strategy. We wrote down our ordered pairs, and we just started at each kind of corner of our shape, and we moved that corner the appropriate number. So over 2, up 3, over 2, up 3, over 2, up 3, because those were both positive. Now for our second one here, we are actually going to try this with just our rule strategy. So I'm going to start out, I'm going to make sure that I write down my ordered pairs first. For this strategy, you have to have the ordered pairs to begin. So D is at -4, 2, E is at 2, 2, and F is at 2, -1. So now that I have those ordered pairs, this is where I'm going to start to add my rule or my change to the ordered pair. So for example, for D prime, now I'm going to do my image coordinates first and then I'll graph it. For D prime, I would start by doing -4, which is our pre-image, so it's the D, the X value. -4 plus 2, because that's the change in X, that would be -2, knowing that negatives and positives cancel out, so these two positives cancel 2 of these negatives, leaving us with 2 negatives. And then I have a +2 here, plus 3 would be 5. Okay, let's do the same for our E prime. I have 2 in the X, 2 plus 2 is 4. And then for my Y's, 2 plus 3 is 5. And for F prime, I have 2 plus 2 is 4. And -1 plus 3 is 2. Again, using that positive and negatives. 1 negative cancels 1 positive. We'd have 2 left over. This is where we're going to graph this now. We're going to see if this makes sense. So I need to go to -2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be D prime. And then E prime is 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E prime. I can connect those. And then F prime is going to be at 4, 2. Do those triangles look the same size, look the same direction, and just that they have moved? Yes, they have. So those are the two strategies. For the remaining 3 examples kind of here, or the 3 sections in our notes, I'm going to kind of get you set up, and I'm going to have you solve them on your own. So let's slide over to the right, and let's do a change of -2 in the X and +3 in the Y. For this one, I'm going to copy that rule or those changes onto the inside. So this is -2, +3 for our changes. To begin with, let's write down our pre-image ordered pair. So looking at points A, B, and C, go ahead and write down what are the ordered pairs for A, B, and C. Do that now. Okay, so I have my original ordered pairs here. For the next step, we're going to take each of those points. We are going to decrease the X by 2, which means that we are going to the left. Decrease goes to the left in our X, and we're going to increase our Y by 3, which means we're going to go up. So if I started at point A, I would go 1, 2 to the left, and then 1, 2, 3 up, put my point, label that A prime. Please do that same thing for B and C, and then go ahead and find your ordered pairs for. Alright, so I first graphed my shape up here, so I have my A prime, B prime, C prime. It looks like the same shape, it's just slid up, and then from there I looked at each point and said, okay, A would be -1, +4, B would be -1, +1, and C prime would be 2, +1. For our next one, we're going to go back to our second strategy, where I would like to do the pre-image coordinates first. I would like to add our rule second and graph third. So let's start with those pre-image coordinates. Go ahead, fill in what are the original coordinates, pre-image coordinates for D, E? Awesome. Okay, so here are those original coordinates. I have -3, 0, 3, 0, 3, comma, -3. Now we're going to add our rule to these ordered pairs to create our image coordinates, so our D prime, E prime, and F prime. So if I start with -3, and I need to do -3 plus -2, that's a negative plus a negative, that means it's going to be more negative. So I would have -5, and then 0 plus 3 is 3. For E prime, I have 3 plus -2. Well, those two negatives are going to cancel two positives. That would leave me with one positive. And 0 plus 3 is 3. And then last but not least, I have 3 plus -2. Again, those two negatives are going to cancel two positives. That leaves me with one positive. And -3 plus 3, those cancel out. That creates a 0. Go ahead. Those are the three prime coordinates. Let's go ahead and graph. Okay, how did your graph turn out? Does yours look like mine? Do these shapes look like a translated shape? We took the original and we just kind of slid it up that way a little bit. Hopefully yours turned out. We are going to go down to the bottom left corner now. We are going to look at our change of +2, -3. So let's write that in on the inside. So let's go in here. I'm going to just write this as, oops, I didn't really need the parenthesis, but 2 and then -3. So that's our change in x's and our change in y's. For these, you can now, you've kind of gotten some experience with the two strategies. Pick the strategy you like. Do you like to do your pre-image coordinates and then your image coordinates by adding our changes and then graphing? Or would you rather do your pre-image coordinates, graph it, and then do your image coordinates? Entirely up to you. I'd like you to start with just this first example here, filling in the pre-image and the image coordinates as well as graphing. The next time you hit play, we can compare answers. Okay, this is what I got for A, B, and C. We went from -3, 4 to -1, 1, -3, 1 to -1, -2, 0, 1 to 2, -2, and you can see where I graphed it. Okay, try it again. Let's do the same thing here. You pick your strategy. Are you going to do your pre-image coordinates, graph it, and then get your image coordinates? Or are you going to do your pre-image coordinates +2 and plus -3 to get your image coordinates and then graph? Okay, go ahead and try that now. All right, check yours. How did you do? Okay, let's try our last two examples. So the rules for this one was -2 and -3. Your x is decreasing by 2. Your y is also decreasing, but by 3. So let's copy that rule to the inside, -2, -3. And then I'm going to do this in two parts again. So you will do the first one, you can check your answers, and then you'll try the second one. So go ahead and try the ABC, decreasing your x by 2 and your y by 3. Alright, here is a look at A, B, and C for me. I used the moving, the graphing, and then doing my image coordinates for this one. Looked at A, I decreased by 2, and then decreased the y by 3 to move it here. B went down by 2, down by 3. C went over 2, down 3. Okay, so compare your coordinates, and then last but not least, go ahead and try example D, E, F with the strategy. Alright, and how did you do with our last example? Now that we've finished those problems, we are going to glue these into our notebook, and we're just going to write one short definition so we make sure we have that. So, to glue this, I'm going to close the little doorways here. I'm going to flip it over so I'm on the back side. The easiest way to do this, I think, is just to do a quick little perimeter all the way around and then a big X through the middle so then you don't have to cover everything. When you glue this in, I do want you to glue it further down in your notebook towards the bottom so that we have some extra space up here at the top. So I got that glue in there. I'm just going to smooth it down real good. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to write what I want you to write at the top, but I'm going to pause the video, write it, and then that way you can just copy it. Alright, so copy down this definition in whatever space you have. This is just trying to label our notes as well as giving us that definition of what is a translation. We'll be defining many of the other transformations, and it's good to know the difference. So a translation is a transformation in which a figure slides but does not turn. Those are our translation notes. Let me know if you have any questions.